Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our PCCS's emPower Hour, where we have people as a part of PCCS and people in the community come together to talk about what's happening. So today with me, as always, is Mr. Kevin Roman.
How you doing?
And we have our day supports team here, Gabriella Nuara,
Hi guys,
Evelise Segarra, and Andrew Brown. So if you guys want to give your little introductions, please.
Well, everyone already knows what I do. I'm a development strategist. But Gabriella, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I am the Assistant Division Director of Career and Residential Supports. So I oversee our day program, our employment programs, and our residences that we have here at PCCS.
Great. Evelise? Going like clockwork.
My name is Evelise. I am the Assistant Manager of Day Supports here at PCCS. I oversee the day program and the ComHab and Loop program.
Great. And Andrew?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm the program manager of Day Supports. I oversee DayHab as well as ComHab and Lou.
Great.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you guys for joining us. I do want to say thank you. I know that this is a little out of all of our comfort zones, so I do want to put that out there that I appreciate you guys for joining us this week. And we really hope that you guys are happy to be here.
Yes, very happy.
Great.
Great. I think that I guess we'll start when we talk about the day support program. I guess let's start with Gabriella. Would you be able to tell us what that means? What is a day support program for us?
Yeah. So for a lot of the kids that have a developmental disability are in the school program, so they're in the Board of Ed. After they graduate Board of Ed at the age of 21, this is like a transition out program of kind of like where they go next. So when Board of Ed is over, if your child does not want to go into college, or it's not something that's realistic for them at the moment, there is a day program that kind of takes that place, and it is a setting in which they get to socialize with other peers, as well as those that they may already know from their own schools. And there's two types of day programs. So ours is a without walls, but there is a with walls program. So a day program with walls is usually set up like a classroom setting. They usually stay inside. They have a routine, a schedule. It kind of is similar to them being in school, versus a without walls program where they're out in the community a lot, and they get to go to different places. So our day program is a without walls. So typically they walk into program, they get picked up in their vans by our staff. They get to go to a morning site. It's usually a volunteer opportunity for them to do. Then they have lunch together. If the weather is permitting, they get to go to lunch at the park. Sometimes they go eat lunch in the mall. They can go to the movies, wherever it is that they feel like doing. And then in the afternoon, there's usually another volunteer opportunity for them to do, or a recreational thing that everyone kind of enjoys. And while they're doing those things, they have a plan which the staff follow that has their goals. So similar to kind of like when they're in school, if they have an IEP, which is tied to them, that helps them learn. It's an individualized education program. So for them to have like set goals that they have to attain and steps to reach that, our DayHab staff are given the same exact thing. So it's goals that the person we support wants to work on, and it explains with the staff how to break down that goal and work on it with the person we support during program hours.
Wow. Okay. You had touched upon the fact that there's day habilitation with or without walls. Do you find that there's any specific benefit to a DayHab without walls, or do you feel like it's even keel, or is there more of a benefit for more of a structured with walls?
So here at PCCS, we are person-centered. So honestly, at the end of the day, it really depends on what is best for the person that we support. There are a lot of people we support that benefit possibly from being in a with wall setting because of the structured environment. The thing with the without wall setting is that the day can just be completely torn apart by the weather. If they're supposed to go to the park and they're at the park eating lunch, and then all of a sudden it starts to rain, it's like, okay, well, we were supposed to go to the park today, so now where are we going to go? So there is a little bit of that, where there is like a little bit of like, you have to kind of think quickly on your feet when there is like a change in the weather. But I think for me, a lot of the people that are in our program, they enjoy being out. it's a way for them to get out. They're not stuck in one place all day. They get to go out and do all these great volunteer opportunities. We partner with Meals on Wheels. They deliver to the elderly. We work with Trader Joe's. We pick up food and we deliver it over to the zoo. We also work with Rab's Bowling Alley, where they go and they learn like how to basically like clean and kind of like janitorial work for those that are interested in working in the future. But also they have the perk that Rabs knows them. So on Fridays, when it's like a fun Friday and they get to kind of go out for the day, they get to go bowling. And Rabs kind of already has that partnership and they're establishing those relationships in their own community. So that's always good.
Fun Friday sounds like a really great time. Can you talk a little bit more about what Fun Friday is?
Yeah, so Fun Friday is probably the favorite day for management as well as staff, as well as the people we support. So on Fun Fridays, typically what happens is that our program hours are from 9 to 3. So typically in the morning, they do a volunteer site or a workshop to go like oriented with their goals a little bit more. And then in the afternoon, the entire group has to come to a general consensus or agreement, which sometimes is not easy, but we typically make it work, where they all kind of just agree on a place that they would like to go. So a lot of them like to go to Dave & Buster's, especially when that first started opening. The management was right there with them when we had finished our stuff for the day and we needed a break. We met them at Dave & Buster's, so they would go to Dave & Buster's, or they'll go to a restaurant and eat, or they'll go bowling, maybe to the movies. Sometimes they go to Jersey, sometimes they've gone on trips and things like that. So it really kind of just depends. It's just really for the whole group to agree on, but it's a fun day for them to kind of get out, like a field trip kind of thing every Friday. But also they're still working on those goals. They're still working on the socialization aspect, the money management, making purchases in the community. So it's a fun way to kind of incorporate those goals that we have to work on without having to kind of be a little bit more like, okay, like let's do a workshop. Here's a worksheet. It's bringing it to life kind of in a sense that they could use these skills on a daily basis.
Okay, yeah.
How did you get involved with a lot of those sites?
So a lot of it is partnerships that we kind of make. So I was actually a DSP in Dayhab. So for as long as I can remember, we've been partnered with Meals on Wheels. So it's really just trying to establish those relationships with those businesses and letting them know kind of like what our program is about, what it is that we do, that we have staff there to support them, what kind of things that we're looking on, and really kind of just expanding that. Unfortunately, it's kind of like an ever-changing thing. We always want to have more sites. We always want to expand. So that is definitely something that we as a team have to kind of go out and kind of just like let businesses know, like this is a great partnership opportunity for them, you know?
Awesome.
Great. So there's a lot. It sounds like first of all, it sounds like it requires a good deal of creativity. Kind of staying on your toes, a lot of flexibility in both management and I'm assuming also on a direct support kind of level.
Yeah.
A lot of flexibility. Since there's so many moving parts, I guess let's go to Andrew. And can you talk a little bit about maybe what your role is, what a day in Andrew's work day looks like?
So a normal work day before pre-COVID, Evelise and Mike, who's our coordinator, who's not with us today, they opened the program. So they would get there between 7:30 to make sure the schedules, the staff have everything that they needed, to roll in the morning. When I come, my time, I come in at 9 a.m. I check in with them to see what's going on. And the day-to-day includes so many different things. When Dayhab is open and running, we have our plan meetings, we have our own individual check-in meetings. We have workshops that go on in the building. We have workshops that go on other sites. We have the schedule that's usually it's made in the day before. Sometimes that could be chaotic. Depending on if we're short-staffed or not. Sometimes we're in groups, as well. So it all depends on what the actual day, what it transforms into. Because we could be sitting there expecting to do A, B, and C, and then we might get A done, and then something happens, and
then B rolls in.
It's still sitting here. I mean, we respond to behaviors that do happen out in the community. We respond to behaviors that happen in the building. It's just an ongoing process. Especially into the day-to-day when the emergencies do happen. Because some days it can be quiet, Like, oh, everything's going great, everything's running smooth. We're actually getting what we need to be. And then some days it's just like it's back to back to back to back where we don't get a break, But we make sure that everything is going well for not just the people we support, but for the staff as well. Since I've been here, we have gotten new partnerships. Like you said, we have to be creative. I know that before the pre-COVID-19, I know Evelise we had partnership with the FDNY. They came in, did a whole workshop on safety, for the members here at the building, which was awesome. We also were trying to partner with the NYPD as well. We've gotten I call it Camp Pouch, but it's the Good You Gym. We partner with them as well, to go there once or twice a week. We also got the parks memberships, so they'll be able to attend different sites with the NYC free parks, with swimming and even going to the gyms. And going back to the day-to-day, like it's such a broad topic, because the day-to-day can include something as simple as just sitting down, go over billing, going over timesheets, or it could go all the way to the extreme. We're out in the field helping with emergency, going to the ER, doing all these different things that, but we all have people who are in place, which I'm glad for, that are on the team that, we respond well. Okay, we know how to delegate. Well, you do this, I'll do this, and you do that. And, it's all handled underneath, during extreme alert circumstances.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I do want to shout out your, I don't know his exact title, Mike's title. I don't know exactly.
He is the Community Supports Coordinator.
Shout out to Mike Forgione, Community Supports Coordinator, who is also part of this wonderful team. We would love to have had him, and would definitely touch on his role in the future, and we could definitely discuss that as well. So
stay tuned, everybody.
Shout out to Mike.
That's our little plug.
So I wanted to brush on something that you had brought up, Andrew, and I guess just to give like a certain perspective and framework. You guys spoke on emergency situations and things that occur being in the community. I guess Andrew and Gabriella and Evelise, you can touch on this also when he's finished. Do you feel like there's more of a liability kind of being outside in the community, being in a public area? Do you feel like there's more pressure, or?
I mean, I don't think it's more pressure as a sense of from a management standpoint. I think it's more pressure when you figure out the DSPs, because we have a lot of DSPs who say, what if, and like what Gab has taught me when I first started is that you can't go from what happened yesterday. Today's a new day. So, whatever behavior happened with whoever, get today's a new start. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. The liability thing, we're working with people, rather if we were working with walls or out in the community, anything can happen. But we have to be, ready for things to happen, at any given time, because things can change from being at a 0, everything's calm and normal, and then the next thing it could be at a 10, and thankfully we do have experienced DSPs who are able to handle the situations, and they contact us, let us know what's going on. And there's some DSPs who just started who really don't have, that underneath their belt, so they reach out to us. When you come, we need you, we need, your support, whatever. We do go to support them, show them, how to redirect, how to get people back on board to stay in program, not be like, oh no, they're going home. Try to keep the person engaged and, okay, let's put this behind us and stuff the rest of the day. To, have a good day. I don't think it's more of a liability. For me personally, I feel like behaviors can happen whether you have a with walls program or without walls program. It all depends on, the day.
That makes sense. I guess also we'll go over to Evelise. Evelise, is there anything else? It sounds as though a typical day, I couldn't even ask any of you really what a typical day looks like. It sounds like, is there anything you want to add about your role in specific? If I'm understanding the hierarchy correctly, like you kind of work very closely alongside the DSPs, the staff, and the families that are being supported as well. Do you want to talk a little about your role?
Sure. So Andrew did a very good job encompassing what I do on a day-to-day. I'm pretty much more on the front line, as you said, with staff. It depends. So in the beginning, in the morning, we'll let them out. We'll give them a schedule. We'll give them anything that they need for the day, any plan changes, or pretty much anything that they need. I talk closely with the families if they need more support, if they need any changes to be made to the planning, pretty much anything throughout the day. And as he said, the days could be really crazy. It kind of depends on the day, but we wear many hats in Dayhab, so we're kind of there and prepared to kind of transition over to whatever is needed for the day. Could piggyback off a Without Walls program and the liability. It's kind of like a give and take. You kind of have to balance out, being with them out in the community, there's so many benefits, they're being transitioned into the community. They're not feeling separate. It's very inclusive. So if we have to take a little bit of liability for them to have an inclusive lifestyle, that's a risk, we're kind of willing to take. But yeah, pretty much everything that Andrew said, that's pretty much what I do, and many more. I could list a million things, but it'll probably change. Yes, that's pretty much it.
Wow, I think that was really great. Specifically highlighting the keeping it inclusive. I think inherently we in the field always assume that we need to have such structure, not so much in the benefit of the person, but so much so to keep them safe, so to speak. And specifically in our agency, and what seems to be the trend growing with other agencies in the field, is that alongside having the person-centered rights and the rights that the people that we support have, includes the right to fail or the right to be in a situation that presents a certain liability. So I think it's important, like you had said, to really highlight that there's a level of inclusion that naturally comes alongside liability. So that was great. I also know that you had mentioned something about ComHab in lieu. Could you speak a little bit more of that? What exactly that entails?
Sure. So ComHab in lieu and Dayhab kind of go hand to hand. So in day program, it's usually a group with 5 or less people we support and 2 staff members. They get transportation in a van. For ComHab in lieu, it's a one-on-one setting. So if we do have a person we support that does require more support or requires that one-on-one attention, they're still able to do the community inclusion with the day program. They just kind of have their own staff. So they won't be left out of anything. They're still involved in the group setting. They just kind of have that extra support when it's needed. So they follow the same schedule. They have the freedom to go off the schedule based on personal preference. But it's pretty much just they have that support. It's very similar to the day program.
Okay, cool.
I think the other thing, is that okay? I think the other thing, just to mention with the ComHab in lieu, that I think is probably the most beneficial thing, is that in Dayhab, so we as the program team develop a schedule for the staff and the people we support to follow. So with that being said, sometimes some of the people we support don't really love a site as much as they love others. Everyone has their favorite places to go. Everyone has their least favorite places to go. So when it comes down to the one-on-one, in the Dayhab setting, if it's a site that we are able to kind of get an opinion on who wants to go there, we definitely try to take what everyone wants into account. But sometimes everyone just needs a turn. We try to change it up so everyone gets a turn. But in the one-to-one setting, if you particularly have someone that maybe when they do, let's say, Meals on Wheels, it's not something that they're really engaging in or that they're really able to kind of understand, or they don't really prefer it even. Something with ComHab in lieu is great is that those staff also get a copy of our Dayhab schedule, and they can definitely be told to pick the site that they are choosing for the day.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Can you guys explain what ComHab is for those that don't know? Because we use a lot of
acronyms.
Thank you. I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, we use a lot of acronyms in our field in general. So maybe we can talk a little bit about what exactly is ComHab.
Yeah. So community habilitation or a ComHab service is basically when the person we support gets a staff that comes in, their ComHab direct support professional that follows a plan and works on goals similar to our Dayhab staff. It's just a one-on-one setting. the ComHab staff or the community rehabilitation program can be in the person's home. So the staff can actually go to the person's house and they can work on these goals, or they can even take them over to places in the community where they can go work on those goals. So our ComHab in Lieu program is basically just a division of that. The added bonus of that is that they get to partner with the Dayhab sites, and they get them in the day service time, so the 9 to 3. So for people that may be like being in a van with 4 other peers of theirs and then 2 staff, maybe that's too overwhelming. They do benefit from the one-on-one. They could still have that and still enjoy the aspect of going out and the bonus of having all of these great partnerships that kind of the Dayhab program has, that maybe a ComHab staff or a community rehabilitation program doesn't technically have because of the way that their program is structured.
Okay. Wow. Sounds like it's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Really. That's cool. I think this was wonderful to hear about what Dayhab used to look like, but currently we're in the transition through COVID. So I guess if Gabriella, you want to start, what does the transition now look like, especially given without walls, obviously all of it is about the community, and our community is pretty much shut down. So what does that look like now, or what are we going through now?
Yeah, so our Dayhab really was turned a little upside down, and our minds were a little boggled when everything kind of shut down and we had to close day program. The state did close all day programs, whether they were with or without walls. So it really kind of made us really have to go even further outside of the box than we already do. So we do have some people we support that are asking for face-to-face services. So they do have people coming into their homes, like the Dayhab staff coming into their homes and providing that one-on-one support. But we also launched a telehealth program for our day people, day supports people. And what that basically is that our staff are using Zoom, Google Duo, FaceTime, anything like type of video chatting that they can do with the people that we support. So they're jumping on to those chats and they're having conversations with people we support, still working on the goals. And we also launched the Google Classroom for resources that the DSPs can kind of utilize so that they can work with the person we support on those goals or things like that. Typically, they're so reliant on being in the community or having us in the building to kind of like print out worksheets or create these workshops and set up, the Dayhab room as like a classroom kind of setting where they can kind of like have a conversation and have a meaningful workshop with them. Without that, it's kind of like, well, how are we going to talk about all of these important issues, or how are we going to address these goals? So the Google Classroom is like a really big resource library, essentially, for the Dayhab DSPs as well as the people we support to kind of utilize and log on. And there's worksheets and videos. The ever so nice Alyssa even filmed some Zumba videos because our Dayhab people we support love Zumba with Alyssa on Mondays. And there is no more Zumba with Alyssa right now. So now at least they have that opportunity to kind of go on the Google Classroom and pick one of the songs that they can do the dance routine with virtually, in a sense.
Very cool.
Have you heard any feedback from the people that we support, or the DSPs, or even the families of the people that we support now that we are doing telehealth? Have you heard positive feedback, negative feedback, kind of indifferent?
So it's been a little bit of like both. It's always that like we need more resources. So Evelise and I are actually kind of like reevaluating the like Google Classroom and kind of uploading a lot more resources on there. We also realized that originally when we started putting resources on there, we were kind of really only thinking about Dayhab at first, not realizing that this could apply to a lot of the people that we support in all of our programs at PCCS. That are at different levels, grade levels and things like that. So we are expanding that as a whole. So that's really cool. I did get a lot of feedback about the people that have been using the Zumba. And they love Zumba with Alyssa. Really? They actually requested more videos, so if you could just send those over, that'd be great.
Stay tuned, everyone.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great resource to have, and even thinking about post-COVID and kind of like what we're going to do with that Google Classroom, it's something that we can kind of keep forever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. in our lifetime, I hope that another pandemic never happens. But let's say we have COVID-19.2. I have no idea.
COVID-20.
But if we have like another pandemic, it's good to have that resource, as well as like for us to even just have that, so that when the DSPs are in the community, they could just pull up the Google Classroom and kind of just pull that resource right there without having to worry about bringing worksheets or paper or anything of that nature. So that's kind of a bonus out of that.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
I guess, Evelise, you are a little more on the front lines of things. If you have anything to add, as well as how do you kind of mitigate this transition, especially with the direct support staff who are coming in with the routine, even though the day might be different, you still get your schedule in the morning, you get in the van, you get your pickups, you know your guys, you know who's going to do what, who likes this, who likes that, come back, do your paperwork, keep it pushing. Have you had any issues from a staff front kind of trying to transition into what this looks like now?
Yeah, so I mean, we had no one really planned for this. I don't think any of us anywhere planned for this to happen. Literally no one. So it was a big transition for the staff, especially, who are, as you said, very routine. You know, they come in, they do what they need to do. Now they're kind of working, you know, with one or two people we support, or 3 people max we support, you know, via telehealth. And it's definitely different for them. You know, they had the resources, you know, physically in their hands, and now they kind of have to use that virtual, you know, that classroom and those supports that they're getting from us to give the telehealth service. I do know that some families are very grateful because, you know, the people we support, a lot of them are very routine and they're very used to their schedule. You know, even having this telehealth 1 to 2 hours, you know, 3 days a week, it's still giving them something to look forward to. It's still giving them that consistency that they might need. And as for the DSPs, it's definitely a learning process. It's a learning process for us. I learn something new every day. I learn something new for telehealth. I learn a new resource. You know, it's kind of just, it's a learning process. You know, the DSPs, they're transitioning and they're getting to know everyone better on a different level. They're kind of seeing things that they normally wouldn't see because they are so one-on-one on that face-to-face, you know, whether it's FaceTime, Zoom, whatever platform that they use. So there's pros and cons to it. I think it's great that we could still provide at least some sort of service, even if we can't work on the goals that are physical, like cooking and stuff like that. You know, we could do a virtual cooking class. We could work on money management. We could work on reading skills. Socialization is just being able to sit and have that 2-hour conversation with the person we support, with the staff member. So pretty much everything else Gab said was definitely correct. It's definitely a learning process, but we're learning and we'll definitely get there.
Andrew, you know, similar to what we had what everyone else had spoken about, you're kind of in the, if you will, in the middle of both the bigger picture aspect of things, as well as the day-to-day. Are there anything that you want to add? Is there any specific challenges that you faced in your specific position? Is it even just like a technological level, having people have the technology to utilize telehealth? Is there anything you want to speak on in terms of specific challenges?
I mean, for specific challenges, I mean, it was for all of us, from the management all the way down. I mean, I remember, like I said before in conversations, like the first time when we heard Day Hab was closed, and you know, people were asking, you know, what are we going to do? You know, everybody, how am I going to work? You know, even before like we knew telehealth was an option. You know, that's one thing I could say about PCCS in whole, is that they made sure that everybody was still able to work. And then as things began to roll out, you know, we were able to provide some face-to-face services to some people. And then the telehealth came out. And then the telehealth said, oh, we only could provide telehealth to certain people. We couldn't provide, you know, telehealth to people who lived in residences. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like every time we turned around, you know, it was changing on our end, and like we're used to the change management, like we're used to things always changing and following up with protocol and things of that nature, but not so much for the DSPs. And I think that's like one of the things that a lot of them are getting, and they are adjusting, even though it is tough. Like, well, 1 minute you told me I could do this, now I can't do this. You know what I mean? You're like, what's going on? You know, and having those conversations with them. Well, you know, it's just not us operating as PCCS. You know, we're operating as, you know, as the state tells us we can do, you know. But it just seems like the adjustments, staff have made, and there's a life-changing event for everybody, but as well as the people that we support, because I know when I do get the chance to speak to, some of them, they always ask, the first question is, when is Dayhab coming back? And I was like, at this point in time, I'm not too sure. So what can I do for my services? And then you explain it, and then they're like, but I want to see so-and-so, I want to do this, I want to go here, I want to go there, and it's very hard, to tell them, like, I really don't know when Dayhab's going to open back to what you expect. Because when you tell them that, you're like, how long am I going to be like this? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people depend on Dayhab. They enjoyed it, even the ones who complained about coming to Dayhab, they're the ones that are reaching out saying, hey, Andrew, do you have an answer for me? But I think across the board, from all the changes and the precautions and everything that was needed underneath the umbrella to provide services to people, I think that, like Ev said, that I'm grateful we're able to do some type of service for them, and I can't wait till we get back to Dayhab and what it's going to look like, and that's the question, like, what does Dayhab going to look out like moving forward, and that's something we have to plan on as well. And I think that as an agency whole, I think we did a great job, giving services to the people that we support and trying to engage them and try to offer even the families services that they needed during this time of crisis.
So now we can also add, not only is this department, you have to be creative and flexible, you have to constantly be changing as well to adapt to every change from top to bottom that happens. Okay, all right, no problem. We are in the middle of a transition period where we, even in just the general community, aren't sure exactly when the things that we are used to will come back. And it's, generally under the assumption that we will return to normal, so to speak, at some point. Gabriella, could you speak on what maybe the future would possibly look like, only from your perspective, since obviously there are so many factors that could change all the time?
Yeah, so that's a little bit of a rough one. I mean, we really have been just trying to kind of like shift our program, like dealing with COVID. And I don't know if we've ever really, like, we keep stopping and saying, like, oh, when this is over, it's just going to be back to normal. And the reality is that it's not. It's going to be a very different normal. And there are a lot of aspects, I think, that we really kind of have to relook at as operating as a program and just making sure that we're, doing it exactly what it is that we can to keep everybody safe and continue, like, following and adhering to all those guidelines. So I think that, like, when it comes to our pickup routines, picking up the people we support, we have minivans, and we usually have 5 people we support and 2 staff. It's about 7 to 8 passenger minivan. So how are we going to social distance in a minivan? It's really makes a challenge. So I really don't know. I mean, we definitely think that maybe we could do, like, some people will come to program on certain days and they get telehealth other days. Maybe we can kind of do something like that. Or maybe we can't provide transportation to all. We can only provide transportation to some. You know what I mean? And it would have to be that people would have to kind of go to the meeting spot. It is definitely going to pose a bit of a challenge. Luckily, it is not fall or winter. So we could still definitely social distance at a park. We could definitely still social distance, like, out in the community. It just makes it a little bit more difficult when programs like our cooking program to teach the people we support, when there's normally, like, a bunch of them sitting in the kitchen and helping out with preparing the meals and stuff like that, to now only possibly have maybe 2 people with our cooking, our culinary specialist, our culinary DSP, Diane, doing all that. It's definitely going to pose a challenge. I think that as long as we're creative and we kind of just not be afraid to try, the worst thing that we could do is try and it not work, and you have to just pick up the pieces and say, okay, let's try again. You know what I mean? And I think that that's really what it's going to come down to, is kind of just us really thinking outside of the box, not being able to fail, and kind of picking back up again and trying a whole different way, or thinking of a whole new routine that we can kind of do to kind of make it work.
Do you think that with the use of telehealth, which hadn't previously been a priority, or I'm going to say even an option really,
Right.
previously, do you feel like it's a stopgap for the future, or do you think that's something that could be incorporated into whatever the future does look like?
So I think that the aspect of telehealth is really, it has its pros and cons, but honestly, when you think about it, there are people around the world that, disability, not disability, it doesn't even matter, that don't prefer coming out of their houses. You know what I mean? And they need support of some sort, whether that be a DSP, whether that be a therapist, something. And I feel like the telehealth has definitely opened up that door, of letting people feel comfortable, of getting the support that they need through this time, and being able to kind of go get through that. I think that it would be a really good futuristic option. There are just, even when we talk about some of our people that we support in Dayhab, some of them at some point have to maybe get a surgery. You know what I mean? Which would inhibit them from coming to program because they need a clearance. We need to make sure they're safe. They have to get in and out of the van. We don't want them to get hurt. People who have medical issues just in general. You know what I mean? And I think the telehealth aspect of that really gives them the option to get the support that they need without having fear of kind of coming out of their houses and getting hurt. And it's a constant support that could kind of be provided. So I think that that's really like kind of just like the way that it would be essential to kind of keep the telehealth supports in place and really just allow for the people that we support to have that always as an option.
Evelise, in your position that you're in, do you find that there are any other specific silver linings or positive notes or positive things to bring back from this experience through COVID in the department as a whole?
Yeah, so with the downfalls, there's definitely been benefits. I feel like I see and speak to the team more than I did when I saw them in person. And we're constantly connected, constantly texting, group chats. You know, we're definitely always in communication. I feel that way with the staff as well. You know, it's so nice to have a staff kind of call you and be like, hey, aside from work, how are you doing? You know, I've had wellness checks from multiple staff, and even speaking to the people we support's parents, you know, seeing how they're kind of taking this, speaking to the people we support one-on-one. I know we did a Zoom call with Joe A, and he was the happiest human on earth, you know, like being there and like seeing everyone. Yeah, it was a really good one. So there's definitely benefits. I feel like we're getting closer and we're communicating more. You know, we're learning the transition, but all of this learning is good because we could take that and we could put it into whatever the future holds for Dayhab. You know, we're getting the more options. We're getting that telehealth option that doesn't have to be eliminated when this does go back to whatever normal looks like. You know, we kind of have the more options for, you know, services to be provided. You know, we're providing ComHab in lieu now, and more people are seeing that it's an option, and, you know, that program's growing, you know, day by day. People are more interested. So I feel like there's definitely a lot of benefits that have came out of this.
Great. Andrew, I don't know if you want to add anything else, any other benefits that have occurred through this transition, or the ladies have really nailed all the good stuff, really?
Yeah, they got the majority of it. You know, there's not much to add. You know, it's just with the COVID-19, you know, for me personally, in regards to the people that we support and the staff, like I've said to Gab and Ev and even Mike, we as a team didn't realize how much, the DSPs appreciated us. You know, they appreciated the day to day coming to work and, working with the people that they support, so the silver lining in that is you're able to see, that people are, they genuinely care. You know what I mean? It's not just a job that, how have you spoken to, example, like Joe A, or have you spoken to this member, or have you spoken to this parent, from the DSPs, and vice versa. Everybody is just making sure that everybody's doing okay and they're well at this time.
Nice. You guys mentioned a lot of community partners. Anybody could just, I guess, raise their hand on this and comment. But have you found that there's been a closeness in the community since this has gone on, with your partners? We're adapting, but also alongside the community. I guess Gabrielle, if you want to.
Yeah, so I guess like the thing that kind of in the midst of everything closing, we were all calling the people we support and being like, okay, so Day Hub is closed, and it was funny because a majority of the phone calls from the partnerships were like, so we're closing, and I'm like, all right, that kind of saves me a phone call because we're closing. So I think that is that's definitely a challenge. I mean, I hope that when we reopen back up, or some of even our partnerships open back up, the people that we support that are getting those supports face to face, maybe they can, like go to Meals on Wheels and pick up like a half of a route or a couple of meals to help deliver and things like that. And getting the getting new supports in general, or getting new partnerships in general, is a little rough right now. I mean, I know that we're trying to do that, and it's like, well, we're not sure if we're going to open yet, or we don't know what we're going to do. So it really does pose a little bit more of a challenge of opening up those partnerships right now. I mean, we're still reaching out. We're still hoping to make partnerships. We're still trying to connect with anybody who's kind of willing, and whatever that is, and whatever that kind of looks like, it's gotta be something that we all kind of try. You know what I mean? There's never going to be a right or wrong answer on that, or how the right way to do things, or how we're going to do it. I think it's just going to be a trial, basis really for everyone.
Okay. Evelise, when we began in this quarantine, a lot of people were very concerned. Andrew as well. We were all very concerned about everyone's health, obviously, and we started labeling certain workers as essential workers. And obviously, a lot of times we look at nurses and doctors, God bless. And what wasn't very frequently spoken about was the direct support professionals who still came into work every day. How do you, and either Andrew or Evelise, whoever wants to come in, how did you approach the staff when you're basically telling them everybody's closed because of this pandemic, but unfortunately you still have to come in? How did you mitigate those kind of fears for the staff that you had? I'll point to
I don't know if Andrew wants to talk.
Evelise, and then Andrew.
We'll just put one of you guys on the spot, so Evelise, go.
Yeah.
All right, I got it. Yeah, so those conversations were definitely difficult. At the unknown, we're kind of entering the unknown at that point. We didn't know what was happening. Scientifically, we didn't know what this virus did, how long it's going to last, how it's contracted. We really didn't know. So, having those conversations was definitely difficult, but I will say almost all of my DSPs were ready for the challenge. You could see the fear, they were scared, they had questions, and they knew we were also scared. We also had questions that we potentially couldn't even answer because no one knew the answer. But the DSPs have always been ready. Since the start of the quarantine, we've had people go in face-to-face with protective gear. We had the people who did need the support. They were able to jump in and go in. And the DSPs literally are the backbone of this program, backbone of this agency. They were going there and they're doing all of these services. And even with the conversations and the what ifs, they're ready. And, I don't know. It's like they were just ready. There's really nothing much I could say. I'm just very grateful that the DSPs were there. And, even with all of the questions, they were there.
Adrian, is there anything else you wanted to touch on that she maybe didn't add? I feel like that's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, I mean, like going back to the very beginning, like I said before earlier, is that, even pairing the DSPs, with people in other departments, so they can work and get their hours, because we were unaware about the telehealth, or can we still provide service to people in day had. And then we were able to provide people, with services, face to face, and then the telehealth came out. But the same thing, a lot of the staff, were willing and able to go ahead and work with people who they didn't know. You know what I mean? They were just getting ready to know them by, reading over their plan and going to meet them by knocking on their door for the first time, But these people, the people that we supported during that time in another department, they needed services, but they were willing to do that. They change up their whole, daily routine, which is working with another DSP with 4 other people that they came to know. to completely working with strangers and building the relationships with them as well. And you could checking in with the staff and speaking to the staff. You could say, some of them said, "Hey, this is different, but I'm doing it." You know what I mean? Because I know they need the help. They need the support as well. But I think once everything came down the pipeline and we had the PPE equipment, we were able to deliver PPE equipment, and all that stuff, making sure everybody was safe. I think a lot of the DSPs actually, we're beginning to see like where the agency was, not just, departments or management, where the agency was in regards to helping support them through this difficult time.
I mean, I know I have to give, I'm sure on behalf of the agency, the team, a massive shout out to all the direct support professionals who have been working tirelessly throughout this. This has not been an easy task for any of them, and we can never stress enough the importance and value of their positions. It's something you never want to have to really put them in the position of, but they clearly have taken it with ease and grace, and can't shout them out enough, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Kev, even just go back on that, I have to say, even from the community relations side of things, doing a lot of the outreach and talking with community partners and really getting the word out that this is exactly what the DSPs do. They are the most essential. They are always on the front line through the good and the bad, and especially now that there was so much bad that was happening, and they were just risking their lives, people around them, and really providing those vital services. I have to say that the support that we were getting from people that we barely even know really reached out. We were able to raise over $5,000 to kind of help out with that and give that appreciation to the DSPs. So I do want to kind of jump in for 1 second and talk about a couple of those partners. We had gotten some really chunky donations from the FDNY, from a buyer's market who provided the gift certificates to the people, to our DSPs that wanted them. I have to thank, as always, Frank Russo of Incator, who donated his generous $1,000 gift certificate. And we had so many others, including Gotham Trinity Productions, who helped us with all of our outreach to get those funds. And I want to say that there was more, and I'm starting to blank out a little bit. Oh, Midland Pharmacy gave us a nice donation as well. So I do want to say thank you to those on behalf of PCCS. Thank you. But it's really so true that you can't put a dollar amount on the work that DSPs do. But on the community outreach side, seeing community members coming together and really stepping up and saying like, hey, these are the people that we need to be recognizing. So I'm going to shell out that money and help out however it is that I can. And we want to thank the Chamber of Commerce as well, who had provided a lot of emergency PPE for us. And we had another donation from, I don't know. I'm sorry, everyone. I'll get back to you guys on that. Who else donated to us?
Thank you to all of our donors entirely. If you want to be added to this wonderful list, please visit pccsny.org. I'm sorry, pccsny.org/donate.
There it is.
Do your part for the frontline staff. They're out here risking their lives. While we begin to start wrapping up, I do want to touch on the beginning of this conversation. Gabriella, you had mentioned that you are the Assistant Division Director of Career and Residential Supports.
Thank you for getting the title out.
I had to write it down to check. So what is the connection? Do you see, obviously you oversee the day habilitation, community habilitation in lieu of day hab, as well as career sports. What is the link that ties them together? Yeah,
so I'm very pulled back now. Dayhab, if everyone who knows me, I used to be a DSP in Dayhab. I was the manager of Dayhab. It literally is ingrained in me forever. It is something I will never forget. So with that being said, there is so much potential when you're working on the front lines as a DSP, and watching the people that we support grow and just progress in a way that sometimes you don't see it right away, but like after like a few months, you're kind of looking back and you're like, wow, like a month ago, like they could not do that. Like now they're doing it. And I think that the job opportunity aspect for them is a very small window, and giving them the opportunity to get jobs is part of that. So our day program is a volunteer aspect of it where they could work on those skills, but we do have employment programs that kind of branch off of our day program. So typically we'll see somebody in our day program, or somebody in our day program will come up to us and say, like, to the staff or maybe to the managers, like, I want a job or something like that. And it's kind of like gets, the gears turning and saying, like, okay, let's see what they're interested in, what they can do, and if they can't do it, why can't they do it? Can we fix this? Can we, what can we teach them? So we have a couple of our employment programs that we've restructured and revamped, and it seems to be really going well, aside from the fact that they can't literally work, some of them. That's really the only problem we're having, but they're still working on those skills, like, like just being able to be part of an interview process, learning professional skills, learning how to dress appropriately, or to operate, since we're in the telehealth world, to operate like Outlook and email properly, and what an email looks like, and all those other things. So we do have a couple of different employment programs, depending on the person's supports, what they need, and things like that, that kind of like, link to our day program. So you often see that a lot of our day program people kind of end up going over to our career options and going to one of those employment programs.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I think that's a perfect segue to stay tuned, viewers, for next week, where we will be discussing career supports as a whole, and employment and career supports. We'll be having our guest, direct support professional Doreen Smith, who will be discussing the program as a whole, as well as the transition challenges and things like that. So we definitely stay tuned for that one.
Yeah.
Be there.
Be there, be square. Is there anything else anybody wants to add while we're about to wrap it up?
No, I think the only thing that I kind of just want to say is a formal, I say it all the time, but thank you to our DSPs, because I think that honestly at the end of the day, like, without them being on the front lines, we would really not know what to do. And it's a constantly changing world, and there's never a straight answer, and things always change on a day-to-day basis, but like really they have really stepped up. And honestly, to the day supports team, Ev, Mike, and Andrew, you guys have, it's been a challenge for all of us, but we really kind of have worked together to kind of make it work. And honestly, without the teamwork, I don't know if we would have been able to kind of carry on and working on this program. So really thank the DSPs. Thank you guys. Really, it's awesome.
Thank you guys. And thank you guys for coming and speaking your experiences in this situation.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah,
Yes, we want to thank you so much for coming, and we want to thank all of those who are watching us for joining us on their lunch break. We hope to see you guys very soon on another episode of our PCCS emPower Hour. Yeah. And until then, we will see everyone next week.
Bye, guys.
Sounds good. Thanks.
See you guys.
Bye.